What is up guys, Lundrick here, and now I'm back with an audio video for you today. As the title says, AEW Full Gear 2021 preview / prediction. So I actually think the last audio video I did was the All Out preview / predictions like over 2 months ago. So I haven't done that many audio videos lately, and I'm not sure if I'm going to do many more in the future. But I'm going to do this one, and as I've said, I'm going to try and do one for every AEW pay-per-view. And yeah, here we go. We're now 2 days away. We do have one more Rampage to go, but I don't anticipate anything huge happening on that Rampage. So this is a full card, and yeah, you've got to think this is a full card. I really doubt anything's going to be added onto the show. We've got 9 main show matches and 1 buy-in match. So we're going to go through all of them, talk about the matches a little bit, and just give you your predictions. So am I hyped for this show? Hell yeah! I think All Out was an outstanding pay-per-view last time they went out there. Don't think this show will be as good as that. But looking at this, there's some absolutely amazing matches on this show. This show is going to be incredibly stacked. I think that's a good thing about AEW only having 4 big pay-per-views a year. You can make them all good, whereas with WWE having one every month has just always been an issue and all that sort of thing. And yeah, how am I feeling about AEW right now? I'm really enjoying AEW. It's the only wrestling I'm watching every week. I don't really bother with the WWE shows anymore. I've even stopped watching NXT, to be honest with you. I don't even watch NXT 2.0 anymore. So for me, I'll watch every single Rampage, watch every single Dynamite. Don't really bother with the dark shows. If I hear a match on Dark or Dark Elevation's pretty good, I might check it out. But yeah, I watch every single Rampage, watch every single Dynamite, and I'm just enjoying it. And at this stage, you know what, I've been a wrestling fan for a long time. I might as well just watch whatever I want to watch and what makes me happy and all that. If I'm not really enjoying WWE product, which I'm not, I'm just not going to really watch it. If I do hear a match on Raw or SmackDown's really good, I might watch it, or I might go on YouTube and watch some of the segments for 5 or 10 minutes when I've got some time. But yeah, I'm just not into that. But yeah, I'm looking at this show, really hyped for this card. We've got a big main event, we've got title matches, we've got grudge matches. We've got a lot to be excited about for this show. And like I say, I'm going to try and do this for every AEW pay-per-view. So now we're 2 days away, and I think I'm going to watch this one live because I don't have to go to work till Sunday afternoon, so I've got a little bit of time. So I'll probably watch this one live and then review it in the morning. Let's just get to it. Let's just start with the buy-in match, and we got the buy-in match: Nyla Rose and Jamie Hayter versus Hikaru Shida and Thunder Rosa. No real storyline behind this. This match was just randomly announced last night on Dynamite. So this match should probably be okay. I don't anticipate it being great or anything like that, but should be at least okay. You think on paper, Shida and Thunder Rosa make a pretty good tag team. Not really digging the AEW Women's Division right now. Even the TBS Championship Tournament, I just feel like on any given Dynamite and Rampage, most women's matches are just really average. Not a lot outright horrible, but there's just, yeah, I feel like it's kind of made some progress this year, but over the last couple of months it's just kind of regressed and not really that exciting. And there's no storyline behind this match, so there's nothing really much to talk about. So as a prediction, I've got to think Shida and Rose are probably going to go over. I think you could probably give Thunder Rosa the pin, because I think, and we'll get to this later on, I think we got to, at some point in early next year, we got to revert back to Thunder Rosa versus Dr. Britt Baker. And now on the main card, another match that was just added last night on Dynamite, and that's tag team action: Pac and Cody Rhodes versus Malachi Black and Andrade El Idolo. Now this should be a good match. I don't think it'll be a show stealer or anything like this, but should be a good match and pretty much worthy of being the last match added on the show. Now the whole Cody and Malachi Black feud has been But let's just face it, the whole Cordy thing has just not gone well over the last several months, has it? I mean, AEW has pretty much spelled out that they're not going to bother turning Cody Rhodes heel, despite the AEW fans hating him. I mean, the hate for Cody Rhodes is just getting worse and worse. And think back to Full Gear 2 years ago. So the first Full Gear, 2019, Cody versus Chris Jericho for the AEW World Title. Think back to those times. Cody was probably the most over babyface in the AEW roster back then. But things have just not gone well from this year, have they? I mean, the Cordy stuff's probably some of the stuff I've least enjoyed on AEW over the last 6 months or so. I think the QT Marshall feud was pretty much garbage. Do we even need to go back into the Anthony Ogogo shite? Do we really need to go there? That was bad. I mean, the Black stuff was pretty good for Black at first because he got to squash Cody, and then Cody did that stupid, lame, fake retirement thing that he did. Then they had a match at Grand Slam where Black won again. And then they had a match a few weeks ago on Dynamite where Cody won, and no, Black was not buried as a result of this, as some people might suggest. So I just knew inevitably Cody was going to get his win back, but that was just one of those funny things, like, the AEW fan base doesn't really reject much of what AEW does, do they? I mean, for the most part, the AEW fans like the product and support the product, but they were just not having this one at all, were they? I mean, the match was just loads of random moves and all that, and then the crowd has just completely turned and Cody won, and that's now somehow led into a little tag feud. Now that's kind of interesting. Black and El Idolo as a tag team. If you remember, back in NXT, they had a pretty big feud over the NXT title. Black even defeated Andrade for the NXT title on TakeOver New Orleans, if you remember that one. So these two as a loosely based alliance could be pretty good. I mean, Cody and Pac, I guess it gives Pac something to do, because Pac's just been kind of there this year. I mean, special praise goes out. Pac and El Idolo have had 2 excellent singles matches. One on the Rampage after All Out, and then an even better match on Rampage a few weeks ago. So you got to think at some point there's got to be a big rubber match between these two, because both of those matches were fantastic, especially the second one. I mean, I feel like the second one was, not the best Rampage match, because I've already forgot about the 2 Bryan Danielson matches, but absolutely fantastic match. And this match should be good. I don't think it'll be great. I reckon we're probably looking at about a 3-star level match here so far. This prediction, I'll probably go with Pac and Cody to go over. Maybe Cody can pin Andrade so he can protect Black a little bit. And I think hopefully after this you can move Black on from this and move him on to something else, because I feel like this thing's run its course and God knows where they're going to go with Cody after this. I mean, I just don't know where they're going to go for him, since they're obviously not going to turn him heel. Then you look at the heel side, there's not really many interesting feuds for him to do there, so we shall see. Now we got another, the match I think should open up the show. We got a Falls Count Anywhere match, the Super Click, Adam Cole and the Young Bucks versus Christian Cage and Jurassic Express. Build up this one's been pretty good, not amazing, and I do think this will be a pretty exciting match overall. So it's going to be Adam Cole's first AEW pay-per-view match, making his debut at All Out. Not really that in Adam Cole's AEW run so far. I mean, he's definitely better off in AEW than he would have been if he went to the main roster. I think that's pretty correct, right? I would fair say that's pretty true, but yeah, not really digging his AEW run so far. And for me, I just some of the stuff that these guys do is just so cringy. I mean, do you remember that Ghostbusters thing they did the other week? It was like, oh my god, that was just terrible. I'm sorry, if you like that, fair enough, but I just thought that was so cringe. And do you know what, I absolutely despise that spot where the Young Bucks, they run across the ring, then they run across the other side of the ring, then they run across again, and instead of doing something, they kiss Adam Cole on the cheek. Yeah, I did that. Is that supposed to be funny? I I just don't really find that one very amusing, but yeah, they've even made a T-shirt out of that now. I'm like, what the fuck? I mean, it's any respectable adult man wears that shirt. Like, really? I mean, I'm not being funny, but if you're grown up and you wear that shirt in public, you're probably going to get beat up by someone. Just good God. Although some of the matches they've had were really, really good. I mean, these three had a really good match on Dynamite Grand Slam. Rampage Grand Slam in the Arthur Ashe show about 5 or 6 weeks ago, whenever it was. So that was really good. Them and Omega had a great match with these three and Bryan Danielson. But they have had the build-up's been pretty good. Although one thing that really, really did bother me. So last week on Dynamite, they did a thing where the Jurassic Express attacked the Elite. Then Adam Cole got given a concerto. But then two nights later on Rampage, Adam Cole was wrestling John Silver and didn't bother to sell the attack at all. I mean, that just bugged me, really. Just little things like that just really bugged me. He shouldn't have been wrestling and given the concerto, and he certainly shouldn't have been like not selling anything and just being being 100% and all that. But yeah, I think this will be ideal opener. I mean, you know what you're going to get here. It's going to be a lot of fast-paced action. I must admit though, I think I would have preferred to see two matches out. I think I would have preferred to see Cole and Cage and then Jurassic Express versus the Young Bucks, because I think they've built up the Jurassic Express and Young Bucks for a while, and I think that would have been an ideal pay-per-view match. Maybe they'll do that at Revolution, who knows? But I feel like this should be a really, really good match. And this one's hard to predict because in theory, I would kind of like to see Jungle Boy get the win in this one, but I'm going to go for the heels to go over. I'm going to go for the Super Click to win this match. And to have a bonus prediction, I'm going to predict Adam Cole to pin Christian Cage, and that'll lead off to Adam Cole breaking off the feud with Christian Cage. Now, next match, this is going to be a fun attraction. So it's going to be a 5-on-5 Minneapolis street fight. The Inner Circle, Chris Jericho, Jake Hager, Sammy Guevara, Santana and Ortiz versus the Men of the Year, Ethan Page and Scorpio Sky, an American Top Team, which is Dan Lambert, I'm guessing it's probably his first ever match. Maybe Dan Lambert's done some in-ring work somewhere else I don't know about. And then former UFC stars Junior Dos Santos and Andrei Arlovsky. Now, I've got to admit, Arlovsky, I don't know a single thing about him. Not a thing. Don't know anything about him. Dos Santos, well, he looked pretty impressive in the 6-man tag that they had on Dynamite a couple of weeks back. But yeah, I think this has been a good storyline overall. This has been a fun little feud. It's had a pretty good amount of time to build, and then this should be fun. I think it's good to see that Ethan Page and Scorpio Sky have been getting a little bit of a push in recent weeks. It's been good for them, and I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying some of the promo battles between these two. I think it's been good for Chris Jericho to take a step back and be in a feud like this, which is just a fun feud. And Dan Lambert, let's face it, Dan Lambert's basically a metaphor for Jim Cornette, right, isn't he? This is basically what AEW would love to do with Jim Cornette if they could get Jim Cornette, but they're not going to get Jim Cornette because Jim Cornette's a stubborn old bastard that just blindly hates Omega and the Young Bucks. But all seriousness, Dan Lambert's character is basically Jim Cornette, right? I mean, so yeah, some of the promos that Dan Lambert's been cutting have been pretty great. I mean, yeah, I mean, it's to bash the AEW fans and all that, which is going to get them heat. Bashing modern wrestling as well, which you think a guy of Lambert's age, I'm not sure exactly how old he is, but I mean, he's got to be, he'll be in his mid-50s, you'd think, just looking at him, I don't know. But someone his age probably doesn't really like this style of modern wrestling. And hell, even me, sometimes I have issues with it, but I think it's very believable. And yeah, overall, I just think this feud's been really, really good. Really enjoyed it. And yeah, you got to think like Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page are in there to basically make sure the match doesn't fall apart, because you've got Dos Santos, who hasn't really wrestled. Don't think Arlovski's really wrestled that much, and of course Dan Lambert's a middle-aged guy, non-athlete. But obviously with 10 guys in there, you can pretty much disguise his flaws. And I did see quite an amusing joke about this, actually, to be fair, which I did actually think was quite funny. Some people are saying as a joke that Lambert was only really in there so there was someone that Chris Jericho could keep up with. But yeah, I think the Inner Circle, this should be a fun match. It really, really should. Obviously, there'll be a lot of hardcore weapons and all that, a lot of shortcuts and all that. Maybe put this one maybe third or fourth. The only thing I'm not too crazy about is having both this a street fight and a false count anywhere on the same show. So you're thinking hopefully these matches won't be too similar. But yeah, this should be a good match. I don't think it's going to be a great match or anything, but it should be a nice little attraction. I imagine it being in maybe about the 3.5 star range or something like that. It's not going to steal the show or anything, but it's just going to be designed to be a fun little match. And who's going to go over? Well, I've got to think this has got to be leading to the heels getting their comeuppance. Because I don't really see the need for this feud to continue after Full Gear. Because I feel like after this match is over, American Top Team will probably serve the purpose. Dan Lambert can maybe go away for a while. Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page can do the thing in the tag division. If they want to, maybe AEW can pursue using Junior Dos Santos a little bit more. Right, hang on, so I just got a message there. Right, so you got to think this makes sense for Dan Lambert to take the fall. So I'm thinking Chris Jericho's probably going to pin Dan Lambert to win this match, and then who knows after that? Because I'm not sure where he goes the Inner Circle after this. Because I think there's a real sense that the Inner Circle's maybe starting to go a bit still now because they've been around for like 2 years. I'm thinking at some point in 2022, I think Chris Jericho is going to turn on Sammy Guevara, or maybe the other way around. Maybe Chris Jericho gets kicked out of the Inner Circle and Sammy Guevara becomes a new leader of the Inner Circle. But I think that's probably going to be a big feud in 2022. Jericho versus Sammy Guevara, maybe for the TNT title, maybe not. Because who knows how much longer Chris Jericho's got left. He's literally just turned 51. And I'm pretty sure his contract comes up early next year. So if he re-signs, how much longer will he re-sign? How much longer will he be a wrestler? So I've got to think that's probably going to be a big feud next year. Now we're going to go to a title match, and Dr. Britt Baker defends the AEW Women's Championship against Ty Conti. And excitement level of this match is so-so. I am really, really pleased with Ty Conti though, because I think this is why AEW being around is very important, and I hope AEW has been successful. So Ty Conti was one that came through the WWE Performance Center, one of the ones that was cut during the pandemic last year. So if this happened like a few years ago when there wasn't really an AEW around, that could have really been the end of Ty Conti's career. But she found an opportunity in AEW, and she's worked really, really hard to improve, and she's gotten over quite a bit. So this is why people should want AEW to stick around, because it's better for the wrestlers, it's better for the people in the businesses. The WWE not being the be all end all. If you lose your job at WWE, it's not the end of the world. There's other avenues out there. And I think Ty Conti's probably been one of the biggest success stories of the women's division so far. I think she only came in for a few shots in dark. No real big expectations for her, just give her a job, see how she goes. But she's got really, really over. And I am really, really pleased that she's got this opportunity on pay-per-view. I mean, she's had a few good matches on Dynamite. I mean, the most notable of Hikaru Shida last year. Can't remember exactly when it was, but it was an AEW Women's... Oh, it might have been this year, in fairness. Yeah, maybe it was. Yeah, I think it was earlier this year, actually, that she had a really, really good match with Hikaru Shida for the AEW Women's title. And now, so this is the first taste on pay-per-view, and I hope she makes the most of it. I mean, I like this one being on here. I think this is a good stopgap, because like I said earlier, I think the obvious build-up, I think Revolution has got to be Britt Baker versus Thunder Rosa. They've got to go back to that scenario, right? Because they had that classic match at St. Patrick's Day Slam earlier this year. That's what they got to go for, and you've got to have people to keep Britt Baker occupied until they pull the trigger on Thunder Rosa. I think Ruby Soho was a decent option for a while, and this is another decent option. But so yeah, I feel like this match will be good. I don't think it'll be great. They'll probably maybe get about 10, 11, 12 minutes maximum for this one. I don't see this one going long, but I feel like this should be a fun match. I mean, Dr. Britt Baker, big fan of her. I mean, she's been one of AEW's success stories from a fairly bland babyface, solid enough, but not really getting over. And then the start of a heel turn, that not really being a success early on, but she worked very, very hard and creative was behind her. And then she proved in the ring, on the microphone, developed a character, and now she's easily the star of the women's division. I mean, I don't think there's any debate that Britt Baker is the MVP of the AEW's women's division, but this should be a good match. And I think this is an obvious one. Much like Ty Conti, I don't think this is her night. I think maybe one day she might win the NXT Women's title. She might even be the TBS champion, I don't know, but yeah, you got Britt Baker. Britt Baker's going over for sure. I mean, I'd be very, very surprised if she didn't go over. And then we're going to go from the Women's Championship to the AEW Tag Team Championships now, with the Lucha Bros defending against FTR. Now, this is a match I'm probably looking forward to more than most because I'm such a big FTR fan. And yeah, I just feel like this will be a really good match, the high-flying style of Lucha Bros against the old-school technical tag team wrestling of FTR. I think these should match up really well. And I feel like this match needs to be really good because I think FTR's lost the way a little bit. So this feud's been building for a little bit. I mean, obviously FTR defeated the Lucha Bros to win the AAA tag team titles in that. What were they called? The Super Randies. They had that thing. I mean, I think that's the thing that sounded good on paper, but in execution just didn't come across very well. I mean, I think I just think that was really disappointing, wasn't it? I think that could have been a really good angle, but it just didn't go that well, did it really? I mean, the match they had was so. I think the problem was that they had them in the thing, but like normally when this thing happens, the announcers play dumb, pretend I don't know who it is and all that. Then when the heels cheat to win, then we get the big reveal at the end. But they kind of like the announcer was just like, yeah, that's FTR, isn't it? Like no anticipation or anything. Then halfway through the match they got unmasked. So I think there's little things like that. If they had the announcers play dumb and didn't have them unmasked until they cheated to win the belts, that would have came across so much better. And then I think the FTR had a disappointing title defense against Kalisto and Aerostar the other week. I think that match was really disappointing. So I think this match needs to be good. I think this match will be pretty excellent. I mean, Lucha Bros, I'm a fan of them, but FTR's my guys for sure. I mean, this match will be a really good match. I'm pretty sure they did wrestle early on in FTR's run, like in 2020, but I can't really remember how much I liked the match and all that. But yeah, I think this match will be really, really good. Give them 14, 15 minutes. It doesn't need to go too long, but I think we'll have a fun match. This is a prediction. I would love to say FTR would go over and win the titles, but I feel like probably is a bit early to have the Lucha Bros lose the titles, so I'm going to go with the Lucha Bros to retain the AEW tag team titles. Now, the rest of this show is just one big time match after another, so we got 4 matches left to go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, that's 4. I think all of these matches are going to be either fantastic or entertaining in their own way. So the next one we'll talk about, and for me, this could be the sleeper of the show. I mean, this match potentially steals the show in my opinion. This match could be one of the most underrated gems of the entire year, and that's Darby Allin versus MJF. Now, this is what I like about AEW. You've got the roster's got a nice mix of veterans, guys in the prime right now, and then guys that are going to be the guys in the future. I mean, this could be a big glimpse into the future of AEW right here. I mean, I honestly feel down the line, maybe a year from now, 2 years from now, this could be an AEW World Championship match, main event of a pay-per-view. I mean, for me, these are the 2 single success stories in AEW so far. I mean, both guys in the mid-20s. I mean, this is the future of AEW right now, and I'm so glad that they're getting the feud with each other. I mean, when I realised this feud was starting up, I was like, yes, this future will be fantastic. I mean, this has been some of the best stuff the AEW has done over the last few weeks. So, started right after the Arthur Ashe shows. MJF cutting a disgusting promo on Darby Allin, really, bringing up his uncle that passed away and all that. I mean, it's a funny one. I think I personally like some of the MJF stuff because I feel like it's a bit edgy and all that, but I think sometimes in this day and age, a lot of people just get offended by this stuff now. I mean, I admit some of it's probably gone too far. I mean, some of the stuff he did with Bryan Pillman, where he was taking the piss out of his mother, calling them Methany Pillman and all that. I enjoyed it because it kind of reminded me of the late 90s, early 2000s, where stuff like that flew. But I just feel like the younger people in 2021 don't enjoy that. And then he did a promo on Sting where he brought up Lex Luger in a wheelchair and all that. And so I think AEW need to be careful with this. I think they've got to really make sure that MJF doesn't cross the line with his promos, because I feel like something's going to go wrong very soon. I mean, I'm enjoying it, and I think a lot of other people are enjoying it too, but I just feel like that it might go too far one day, cause all the snowflakes on Twitter to outrage and all that, and then complain to sponsors and all that. So if I'm AEW, just be careful on this. But yeah, some of the work between these two, I mean, You've got a perfect heel in MJF, probably the best heel in the business, and you've got a perfect babyface in Darby Allin, two young guys. So yeah, that just seems perfect. A great heel and a great babyface. You tell a great story. So they had the thing where the Pinnacle and Mask took out Darby Allin for a few weeks, and into fill time they had MJF doing stuff with Sting. And yeah, if Sting can ever have a singles match, maybe that's the one, MJF, if he can. I mean, I was kind of half going to say it. I probably would have liked to see Sting and Darby Allin versus MJF and Wardlow on this show. But I was thinking about that and I think, they can save that for another show. Then because aren't they doing like a Clash of the Champions style show in early January? So maybe they can save it for that, or maybe one Dynamite in December. But I think that's a match they'll definitely do in the future. But yeah, I mean, Darby Allin's a guy, he grew on me. I wasn't a big Darby Allin fan at first, but I think CM Punk is so right when you're talking about if CM Punk was 15-year-old, Darby Allin would be his favourite wrestler, and I'd probably concur. If I was 15 years old, I'd probably be a big fan of Darby Allin. So I think Darby Allin is big with like the teenagers / young adults and kids and all that. But I think like there's enough coolness about him, and I think most of male adults respect his work. He's popular like that. So, and I've known the Jeff Hardy comparisons have been said many times, and I would agree with them. I mean, so yeah, I think this match should be I think this match could be fantastic. I mean, I don't think MJF's great in the ring. I think he's very, very good, and with the right opponent, it could be great. Because I feel like MJF's real strength is his character and his microphone work. But I think you've got that, but then you've got Darby Allin like flying around the ring and all that. They should tell a really good story. So yeah, like I say, I do think this match potentially steals the show. And as far as a prediction, yeah, I think MJF. Because I think, you could say Darby Allin should win, but I feel like there's a lot more heat in MJF beating Darby Allin than Darby Allin trying to chase that elusive victory over MJF. So we'll see. But I'm going to go for MJF to go over. And now another match. This is another match that really could. I don't know if it'll steal the show, but I think it might be the most entertaining match of the night. And that's CM Punk versus Eddie Kingston in Punk's second AEW pay-per-view match. Now, we're going to talk a little bit about Punk's AEW run in a minute. But yeah, this. Remember when I did when I knew Punk and Bryan were signed with AEW, and I did a video about top 5 matches I wanted either guy to be in. If you remember that video, Eddie Kingston was one of my matches for CM Punk. So I'm really, really happy this is happening now. I do wish this match had had a little bit longer time to build, because this has only really been a 2-week storyline. So I do kind of wish AEW had started this feud maybe 2 or 3 weeks before, so we could have maybe had a 4 or 5 week build for this one instead of a 2-week build. But those 2-week builds has been fantastic, and it really did start so simply. So after Eddie Kingston lost to lost to Bryan Danielson. CM Punk was doing an interview, then Eddie Kingston interrupted the interview, and that got CM Punk mad. And that promo on Rampage last week, if you haven't seen this, once you watch this video, go on YouTube, type CM Punk Eddie Kingston segment, watch that promo. It honestly probably is the best segment of all of wrestling this entire year. I mean, I think Eddie Kingston, he's just so real. I mean, he's probably the realest character in wrestling. I mean, I just love how he's such a flawed babyface. He's got problems, but he's a fighter. He's fought for every single thing that he's got. I think he kind of really is the ultimate underdog, really. I mean, Eddie Kingston, he's never supposed to make it in wrestling, was he? I mean, look at the guy. He's never ever going to make it in wrestling, but he's got passion, he's got charisma, he's got fight, he's got grit, and he's survived all the shit that life's handled him, that the wrestling business handled him. And this is another thing. This is why people should be happy that AEW is successful, because there's no way Eddie Kingston would be like this in WWE. No way. I mean, Eddie Kingston, Eddie Kingston's a horrible fit for WWE. He'd never get over, he'd never get the opportunity. So basically, he came into AEW. I think it was supposed to be just a one-off, because he was an independent wrestler. He had the big match with Cordy for the TNT Championship, but he cut a great promo, had an awesome match, and then got himself over. And if you remember last year, he managed to get himself into the main event of Full Gear last year with Jon Moxley. That was just so fantastic. And yeah, honestly, that promo battle between the two was just so real. It just felt like two people hashing out the differences. There was no silly jokes in there, nothing like that. No silly jokes, no daft run-ins, and I think they reacted accordingly. But like, you could believe that these two guys really feel the way about this too. And another one, when Eddie Kingston said that line about is CM Punk just going to quit for another 7 years, CM Punk immediately punched him in the face, because if that was real and that was a real confrontation, I mean, that would trigger CM Punk into doing that. Now, as far as CM Punk's AEW run so far, I see a lot of people criticising it, but here's the thing for me, right? I feel like it's a story of CM Punk being gone for 7 years, not quite at the top of his game. He's building himself back up slowly, working with different kind of guys, getting victories. So first up it was Darby Allin, then he wrestled a guy bigger, stronger and younger than him in Powerhouse Hobbs and was able to use his experience to win. And then he wrestled a high flyer like Matt Sydal and was able to get a victory there. Then he had a more rounded wrestling veteran like Bobby Fish was able to overcome that. And the thing is, because people are complaining about, just be patient. Punk Omega is going to happen. Punk versus Danielson is going to happen. All these big feuds that you fantasise about CM Punk having in AEW, it's all coming. It'll come next year. Just don't worry about it. But yeah, I really feel like people have been overly critical of CM Punk's AEW run. And I just feel like the same people criticise. So say CM Punk, right, was right there in the main event of Kenny Omega at this one. The same people criticising will be like, oh, well, AEW is just using old veterans to come in and take the spots off the young guys. This is bullshit. This is just like something WWE would do. That's exactly what you'd be saying, wouldn't you? Of course you would. If people are going to deny that, then they're just lying to themselves. So, like I say, just be patient. This is kind of it's a story of a veteran CM Punk coming back after 7 years, building himself back up. I mean, I think it's a bit different with Danielson, because Danielson's coming off a big run in WWE where he literally just main evented WrestleMania, and his last match was facing Roman Reigns in a big main event. So, in kayfabe, Bryan Danielson should be at the top of his game right now. But I do feel like this feud is bringing CM Punk's AEW run into life, and I'm really looking forward to this match. This should be a great fight. I mean, I'm really looking forward to it. And I hope this feud continues after this, because I feel like if this is a one and done and the feud's over after Full Gear, that'll be a real shame, because I feel like this story has a lot more left to build. This could even build into the next pay-per-view, quite frankly, or at the very least, going to maybe like early January next year. I mean, I'd like to see another match after this. Now, here's a conundrum. Who's going over? Now, this is going to be a bold prediction, but go with me. I'm going to go with Eddie Kingston to defeat CM Punk. Because CM Punk's gone undefeated so far. But I feel like if you put Eddie Kingston over, that'll reinforce the story. Is CM Punk at the top of his game? And I think the thing of Eddie Kingston, he's lost all of his big matches so far to Cordy, to Moxley, to other guy, to Danielson. I just feel like he's due a big win, isn't he? He's due a big win in AEW, and I feel like CM Punk would be more than happy to put him over. I just feel like there's a lot, you can get a lot more out of if Eddie Kingston goes over, so I am going for Eddie Kingston to go over. Now we got, for the World Title Eliminator Tournament Final, Bryan Danielson versus Miro. And how stacked is this card? Like, the more I'm going through it, I'm thinking, wow, this could be another potential show stealer match, so I think there's a big controversy, well, not a controversy around this one, but a big change. So, of course, this was obviously going to be Bryan Danielson versus Jon Moxley, and holy shit, would that match have been something? But let's face it, if it was Danielson versus Moxley, what an amazing match that would have been. But of course, a couple of weeks ago, Tony Khan announced that Jon Moxley was going to rehab, alcohol rehab addiction, so obviously Jon Moxley's admitted he's an alcoholic, and yeah, just hope for the best. And I think like it's awesome that Jon Moxley's admitting he's got a problem and all that, and he's seeking help. And I think it's admirable that AEW was happy to let him do it. I mean, he was right in the middle of a big storyline, so AEW has had to stop storylines to help Jon Moxley, and you got to wish Jon Moxley the best of luck in his recovery. And this, don't turn this into a hating the AEW thing either, because I have seen this on social media before. People suggesting that AEW is responsible for Jon Moxley having a drinking problem, and it's like, shut the fuck up. But hopefully this is good. Moxley will change, and then he'll turn his life around. I think it's awesome that he's admitted he's got a problem, because how many people are alcoholics for years, decades, before they even think about getting help? Hell, how many people never get help and they have tragic consequences, and they leave wives and children behind? So good on Moxley for getting the help they need. So AEW had to pivot. They'd already had Danielson in the final, so they had to pick someone to replace Jon Moxley in the tournament. And I feel like Miro was a perfect choice. I mean, I think a lot of Adam Cole would have been a good choice too, but I just think Miro, yeah, that would have been sweet. Now, Danielson's AEW run so far, I mean, I'm absolutely loving it. I mean, you can just tell the guy's having the time of his life. He's enjoying wrestling. I mean, he's been in the company less than 2 months, and he's had 4 absolute bangers. I mean, the wonderful Omega and Grand Slam, for me, won the matches of the entire year. And then the Rampage buy-in, just for no other reason than having an awesome match. Him and Minoru Suzuki wrestled on that show. And then his 2 matches in the tournament, the first round, had a really, really good match with Dustin Rhodes. Then him and Eddie Kingston had something of a modern classic at Rampage the other week. Wow, that match was really something, really, really something. Awesome stuff. And then now Miro's managed to get himself through the back door, beating Orange Cassidy in the second round. And now he's getting this match with Danielson. And yeah, I mean, I think on paper this could be an awesome big man, little man match. I mean, I always wondered what Daniel Bryan versus Rusev would be like in WWE. I always thought that could have been an interesting match, but here we go, Miro. And this Miro's a big tale of turning it around, because let's face it, first 6 months or so of Miro's AEW run was shit, wasn't it? It was horrible. They basically had this intimidating brute like Miro become a video game nerd, and everything with Kip Sabian and Penelope Ford, that was just poor. And ever since he just decided, fuck it, let Miro be the monster that he is, it's improved so much. I think he had a really good run at the TNT Championship. And yeah, I just feel like now he's probably one of the most over guys in the roster. His promos are great, he looks great, his work's good, excellent. I mean, this is pretty much the Miro / Rusev we could have seen in WWE. And it's just a shame that WWE never saw, or maybe they did see it and they just didn't want to push him, who knows. But yeah, I feel like this match could be an absolute barn burner as well. I mean, I don't think Rusev's ever had like I don't think I've ever given him a 4.5-star match before or anything like that. I don't think I've ever rated him higher than a 4-star match, so I feel like this could be the real breakout match of his career. I mean, Danielson's just killing it right now, and we know what Miro can do. Now it's a prediction. So, this is going to tie at the main event, so I feel like I think a lot of people are pointing at Danielson going over, but I disagree with that. I think it would make all the sense in the world for Miro to go over, and here's why. Well, I'm kind of spoiling the main event, but say Hangman wins the title. Having his first title defense against a major heel would make a lot more sense than facing Bryan Danielson, where you're potentially splitting the crowd and having a lot of the crowd turn on Hangman Page. And I think like you can go back to Omega versus Danielson later on. Because I feel like ultimately later on, maybe late this year, early next year, we'll see Bryan Danielson versus Kenny Omega again. But you could easily do that without the AEW title being involved. And in a kayfabe sense, it just makes sense. You could sell the fact that Daniel Bryan's been... I keep doing it. Bryan Danielson, Daniel Bryan. So if I keep flip-flopping the names, it's just a fault, because I've been used to calling him Daniel Bryan for the last 10 years, so still I'm trying to get used to calling him Bryan Danielson again. So Danielson's been pushing himself very hard. I mean, his tournament's been really grueling. He's had the big long match with Dustin, war with Eddie Kingston, and he's been pretty much wrestling at least once a week on Dynamite and Rampage, where Miro's in theory well rested. He hasn't wrestled for weeks. His only tournament match was about a 7-minute match of Orange Cassidy, and of course there's a size advantage as well. He's got about £100 size advantage on Bryan Danielson. So you could sell that Bryan Danielson's just been pushing himself too hard, and because Miro's fresh, you could take advantage of that and have Miro go over to win the AEW World Title Eliminator, and that leads us to the main event for the World Heavyweight Championship. One of the biggest matches in AEW history so far. Easily maybe the most anticipated main event in AEW's short history so far as well. For the AEW World Heavyweight Championship, Kenny Omega versus Hangman Page, and it's finally here. The story that's been building for over a year finally culminates right here. I mean, there's so much history between this one. I mean, this is a great example of long-term storytelling, and it's finally going to pay off in the most awesome way right here. So this one really goes back to Omega and Page as a team. They started teaming, and it was either late 2019 or early 2020, and then they won the AEW Tag Team Championships and had a great run as AEW Tag Team Champions. Like, seriously, I would put Omega and Page's tag title reign over the Young Bucks reign any day of the week. Thought that one was so much better, and that of course ended it all out 2020. Then after that, Omega basically ditched Hangman Page. Thought his thing pretty much dismissed Hangman Page. He was no longer interested in taping. He was trying to be a singles wrestler, and then he ended up turning heel and becoming the world champion after defeating Hangman last year at AEW Full Gear, if you remember. That was the final of the first AEW World Title Eliminator Tournament. In the opener match of Full Gear last year, Omega defeated Page then, and then he would go on to win the world title. So, and for Hangman Page, it really goes back to the start of AEW, doesn't it really? The first All Out in 2019, where he had his big shot. He had his big shot to win the world title against Chris Jericho, and he came up short. And they've told a great story of Hangman Page getting close, but not quite enough. He always seemed to fall at the final hurdle, whether it was bad luck or whatever, or suggesting that his drinking problems being part of it and all that. Maybe the cowboy shit was fun, but it wasn't going to get him the world title. And obviously Omega's got on his run over the last year's world champion, which, despite what you might think of his career and all that, you can't deny. So many fantastic matches during his title reign. I mean, Kenny Omega's in-ring work cannot be denied. You might not be the biggest Kenny Omega fan in the world. You might think some of his stuff are cringing. I would agree with a lot of that, but in the ring, Kenny Omega he's got, at the very least, he's in the top 5 in the world, isn't he? I mean, you could debate all day long who's the best wrestler in the world, but Kenny Omega would certainly be on the short list, wouldn't he? He'd be in the conversation. It's got to be. And by all accounts, this match was supposed to happen at All Out. But obviously Hangman Page asked to have some time off because his wife was about to give birth to a baby. And I was concerned at that point because I thought, if they keep holding this off, is Hangman Page going to cool off with the fans? Because if you remember, right before the pandemic, Hangman Page was getting so over with the crowd. Then, of course, I think the pandemic really hurt Page because the crowd wasn't there for the crowd support. And then when the crowds came back, you sensed that, yep, the fans were right ready to jump back on the Adam Page bandwagon and start loving him again. And he was really, really over. And then they did was it the elimination match with him and the Dark Order versus the Elite with Gallows and Anderson as well. And obviously Page lost that match. But there was a reason for that, obviously, because he took time off. So my concern at that point is, if you leave it at full gear, are fans going to be as interested in this? Is Hangman Page going to cool up? And in hindsight, I think it was absolutely the right move to not have Page win a title on that show, because if you think about it, what happened or not? What happened at All Out? Bryan Danielson debuted, Adam Cole debuted. So if that happened and Page won the title, would have been secondary to those two things happening. So obviously Page came back in the Casino ladder match in early October, and all fears I had about Hangman Page cooling off were unfounded as Page came back, and he was over as ever, being the pop when Page came out to be the Joker. It was one of those things where maybe it's because we've just watched WWE for so long, but because I was thinking, because I thought it was going to be Page who was going to be the Joker, but in the back of my mind it was, I thinking, is this going to be too predictable, and are they just going to swerve us for the sake of it? But no, Page came back, won the ladder match to a thunderous ovation, and now we were back on track. Now we were back on course, and the only match that main event Full Gear had to be Kenny Omega versus Hangman Page. And the build-up then, since then, has been, apart from one thing, but for the most part, great. I mean, I loved that promo he did in the ring with, I think, was it Jim Ross or Tony Schiavone? I can't remember. Right after he came back, and he pretty much summarised everything that happened to him in AEW. I mean, that was just a world-class promo. And the one thing about this feud I just really, really disliked was the whole, oh god, that Ghostbusters thing. I'm sorry, but this, I acknowledge that this stuff is, the fan base enjoys this stuff, so it's not necessarily wrong, but that sort of thing's just not for me. And when he came out and he was in the big marshmallow suit and then he attacked Kenny Omega, I just feel like, right, my stance is, I don't mind comedy wrestling, but it shouldn't be main event stuff. I think if you're going to do comedy stuff, it should have its place in the card, in the mid card, but it absolutely should not be main event stuff. That's just my personal taste, and I know a lot of people disagree with that, so I just don't think they should have done that. And I've literally just got off watching Dynamite, and I've seen a lot of people shitting on the contract signing segment, but I don't know why. I honestly don't know why. I thought it was a great contract signing. Both guys made the point, cut strong promos, and the people really upset that Don Callis jumped there. I think that's why people are upset, because they thought Don Callis, disguised as a cameraman, attacking Hangman Page was bad, but no. For me, it was the heel Kenny Omega getting one last thing over on the babyface challenger right before the pay-per-view match. So I thought it was very effective, and it's standard stuff. So it just makes sense, really, if you're going to have a big pay-per-view match, for the heel to get the advantage going at the pay-per-view, so the babyface has more to fight over. And now after all that, how's the match going to be? I think this match will be a classic. I'm thinking, will it be better than Danielson versus Omega? It's an actual match, I would say no, but in terms of storytelling and all that, and the big payoff finally happening, very, very high hopes for this one. I would say, if they want to go 30, 35, 40 minutes for this one, let them do it, because I feel like the match absolutely, I think this match warrants as much pay-per-view time as you want, because this is the end of a big, big story, and this is a big main event match, so this one warrants going long, because obviously I think Omega's awesome, and I think Page is better, and so getting so much better now, and I feel like he's ready to have that really, because I don't think he's had that really one exceptional match yet. I think he's had a lot of very good to great matches. I'll say the best match I've ever seen him have was either the one for Okada in the G1 a couple of years ago, or actually the Full Gear match with Omega last year. But I feel like he's just one set away of having that exceptional match, and this is going to be it. I imagine the crowd's going to be unbelievable for this one. This will be one. There won't be a single Kenny Omega fan in that audience. This is going to be Hangman Page's night. And there's a supplemental. So before I get to the main prediction, let's have a supplemental prediction. I feel like this is the time. There's a time and a place for the One Wing Angel to be kicked out of, and this is it. This will be the time. So in an era where finishers haven't not really protected anymore, one finisher has over the last several years, and that's the One Wing Angel. I mean, we've had Okada get his foot onto the ropes, and I think Jericho did that as well. But no one's outright kicked out of that move in the middle of the ring, and I feel like this is it. This is a perfect moment to do it. So I feel like about maybe 25 minutes in, Omega's going to hit the One Wing Angel. Fans are going to be like, holy shit. Then Page is going to kick out and it's going to be a thunderous response. So this is a prediction. I kind of alluded to it earlier, but yeah, Hangman Page has to be, right? I mean, has to be. I mean, there's no other acceptable outcome, right? I wouldn't have thought. I mean, it's got to be Page, right? I mean, I just can't see any justifiable reason for AEW not to pair this storyline up with Hangman Page beating Omega. Because if he doesn't, then he kind of looks like a complete loser. And then, so say that you have Omega win, but Page win later. I just feel like that's a massive, massive risk. Because I feel like fans will lose faith in Adam Page if he loses this match. And AEW kind of sells itself as the promotion that listens to the fans. So here's your opportunity to put your money where your mouth is. You'd say that, but shows that you're listening to the fans. So yeah, it's got to be Hangman Page beating Omega for the title, right? And yeah, that's a wrap, guys. That's another AEW preview / particulars video down. So if anyone's interested, I'm not even going to bother doing Survivor Series next week, because fuck it. If WWE has no effort into building this pay-per-view, why should I spend an hour of my time talking about it? I'm not going to do that. I'm probably not even going to do a slideshow preview / prediction on that one either. And also, the current wrestling Q&A, that is coming out at some point next week. So that is slated to come out next week. And thanks for the support, guys. And until next time, peace.